are the worst. Baucus, can I say the word whore? I just did. Baucus is a total insurance company whore. He's gotten millions from the insurance company, and his own people don't want him to do what he's doing. His own Democratic Party in his state don't want that. Now, Dodd, I just saw Michael Moore's movie this weekend, and he focuses on Dodd, because Dodd is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. This guy criticized practices done by mortgage companies, and then he took special favors from mortgage companies.
Hi, it's David.
David, you're there. I'm complaining about who's on this Senate team making the final decisions about health care. Dodd and Reed and Baucus. What a pile, huh?
Well, it's...
Well, let me introduce you, though. I've invited David Swanson to be with the show tonight. David is the author of a new book that topped out on Amazon when it first came out, Daybreak. It's an important book about how we can take back this country. And Dave, you've been busted lately?
Yeah, some of us got in a little trouble with park police for trying to use the First Amendment near the White House the other day.
You mean you were speaking?
We were speaking, we were assembling, all kinds of things.
Oh, you evil criminal, you!
Yeah, if you have more than 25 people, you aren't allowed to use the First Amendment near the White House. You can use it at a distance, and they can drive giant trucks making horrendous noises so that no one can hear you.
Is that a new part of the Constitution? Did they amend the Constitution recently, put that 25 people?
Yeah, well, you know, when the Constitution was actually put together, we didn't have police. We didn't have a standing army. We didn't have a lot of things, and we didn't have permits for when and where you can assemble and speak. You must have a permit. And we sort of thought that the point of having these rights was going to be to use them to address our government at the White House and at Congress above all. Not you know, this is not some place where these rights should be restricted because the important place to have free speech is at your supermarket. No, this is precisely where
you can't have it there either.
No, I know, because so many
private property,
seemingly public places are now private property.
Yeah.
We didn't have that in any large extent that I know of either when we put the Constitution together. It needs some updates, the Constitution, but what
that's
it's
a frightening thought.
Needs to be enforced too.
The idea of updating the Constitution is very frightening to a lot of people. We have a lot of members of Op-Ed News who really want a constitutional convention, but you know, you open that can of worms and you get members of Congress in there and current batch of politicians bought and paid for by corporations, and I don't think anything good would come out of it.
Well, rolling out of bed is scary to a lot of people. Standing up in the morning is horrifying.
When you get out of bed and stand up, David, I'm sorry, but you don't have a member of Congress who's sold his soul to a corporation in the bedroom with you.
Well, Rob, we have a Constitution that has some good parts in it that are not being enforced. So rewriting the Constitution to make it better would be largely pointless until we figure out a way to enforce the good parts of what it is right now. But trying to think in terms of future years and decades where we might want our children to live, it's hard to conceive of a way to create a peaceful and just and sustainable world without getting to the point where we can amend the Constitution and enforce it, which, needless to say, means that before you go into a constitutional convention, you've achieved some major reforms already. You don't take Lockheed Martin into your constitutional convention. You don't necessarily take any Congress members at all. There's no requirement that Congress Congress members be in a constitutional convention, but you need to be able to do it in a democratic small d manner, which clearly we're incapable of at the moment. But to not lay out where we need to go and figure out the numerous steps needed to get there is just to give up on having a future, I think.
Well, it seems to me like what we need to do now is get the rights back that have been taken away from us, for starters.
Well, we do. But, when the Supreme Court rules in a few weeks, as it very well may, that there are absolutely no limits on corporations' human right to have free speech in the form of spending money on election campaigns, and a fraction of a % of the profits of one of our mega corporations absolutely swamps everything we've seen thus far in terms of financial corruption. You're going to start thinking hard about how do we get to the day when corporations don't have the right to free speech, when corporations don't have the human rights that humans were supposed to have.
No, I've been, I was turned on to this while Tom Hartman was writing his book on equal protection, which basically tells the story about how the Supreme Court was corrupted back in the 1880s when the railroads were the biggest corporations. And a strange thing happened. The way that corporations got the right to corporate personhood, which is what you're talking about, is the chief clerk for the Supreme Court reported that the members of the Supreme Court had decided that corporations should have the right to corporate personhood. Now, they had rejected that multiple times when the corporations had approached the Supreme Court. But this time was a little different. There was a new chief clerk. This chief clerk happened to have previous job experience as the president of a railroad. Funny thing how he would take a job as chief clerk after that. The other thing
is, but
the other thing. Let me finish the story. The other thing that was funny is that the Chief Justice died shortly after the end of that term, so he couldn't refute what this clerk wrote down in the notes for the year. And that's how corporations got the right to corporate personhood. It's insane. Now, the case that you referred to, the one that's regarding the movie that was made attacking Hillary Clinton, that if they do what you are expecting and what I'm expecting, they're going to be overturning about 100 years of precedent. And this is from people who talked about not being changing the laws, judiciary. How do they call it? Judiciary activism? It'll be the ultimate case of judiciary activism.
Yep.
Yeah, it's horrible. So, but I wanted you here today to talk to you about something a little different. I want to talk to you about civil disobedience and dissent and getting arrested. How many times have you been arrested as an activist?
I don't know, a half dozen or so.
Half dozen? And what I wanted to kind of explore with you is what we're seeing is it looks like there's a lot more of this happening lately. People are getting arrested. Last week, some got arrested in New York, engaging in civil disobedience over health care. This week it happened in Philadelphia over health care, and it happened in Washington over health care and the Afghan war. I had a conversation with Wendell Potter at a town hall that a group of us organized in Philadelphia, and I said to him that Dennis Kucinich has characterized health care as a civil right, and we know how civil rights are won. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks showed us, and John Lewis. You do it by civil disobedience.
Yeah,
so what I wanted to talk to you about is what's the experience like? How do you go to what is the mindset that you have to take on to go to a place where you know you may get arrested and you're prepared for it? What thoughts go through your head? What's that like? How do you reach that place?
Well, there's nothing frightening or difficult or traumatic whatsoever in getting arrested. In most cases, certainly in any cases I've ever been involved in, it's the most painless routine, everyday, absolutely non-frightening thing ever. So there's no significant preparation of a mental state required, except to shake off any crazy fear and reluctance and get down to doing what needs to be done. I think we're in a situation where you can engage in what ought to be legal activities, what are certainly constitutional activities, such as assembly and speech, and be arrested. And you know you're going to be arrested. It's predictable. It's expected. In these cases, they tend to give you 3 warnings: leave, go away. This is your third chance. And when you don't,
well, when you say they give you, what they're actually doing is making an announcement in public to whoever is within hearing, right?
Yes.
It's not like they go up to you personally and they say it to you, right?
I've only ever gotten arrested in a large group of people, and they say it to all of us. And
they assume that you hear them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. So they count. They say, this is your first warning. They wait a couple minutes. This is your second warning. If you don't leave after this, we're going to be arresting you. This is your third and final warning. You will be arrested if you stay here. Is that basically what happens?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't describe every incident on the streets of Washington or the streets of Pittsburgh. There are people who've been simply grabbed and arrested. There are cops who have rioted. There's no other word for it, and attacked people. And there are risks involved in anything, and there are risks to your career if you work someplace where they will fire you if you have some sort of criminal record and so forth. It's good to have legal advice. It's good to know what you're getting into. It's good to understand what kind of criminal charge you're up against, whether it's a minor misdemeanor, essentially a traffic ticket of failing to obey a crazy order, or it's something much more dramatic because you're on federal property somewhere and they're cooking up a serious charge. All good things to know, and very good to know how to behave nonviolently, how to not react to provocations, how to avoid any contact with a police officer that could be misinterpreted as assaulting a police officer, and so forth. There's nothing wrong with preparation, but I certainly never had any and have never thought I needed any and have never lacked it. I think all you need to do is to get off your couch, walk to the district office of your Congress member, sit down, and not leave. You don't need to know much more than that. And we're at an incredible crisis in this country of having shifted all power to the presidency. We're moving into a dictatorship. We have wars that are ongoing and escalating, and the crimes accompanying them. We have a situation with the environment that is near collapse. We have massive efforts to get even minimal social goods passed through Congress, even, laughable, minimal attempts at health care reform, and we can't. So I think, in a civilized nation, we would have long ago shut down Washington, D.C. with nonviolent occupation. We still need to. Our ground zero should be the House of Representatives, but you don't have to come to D.C. Go to your Congress member's district office, not your senators, not the president, your Congress member. Go to their district office, sit there, and leave when they commit publicly and in writing that they will not vote for another dollar for these wars, or that they will co-sponsor H.R. 676 for single-payer health care and will vote against any bill that is not single-payer health care or that
That's what they should be doing. That's what they should be.
Option.
Amen.
The only variation I would say is if you're going for health care, cough a lot. Otherwise, I mean, you need to know how to bend your knees. You know how to sit down.
What about going to health insurance companies and blocking their lobbies or something like that, or going inside of them? Does that have any effect? Or that's what people were arrested protesting outside of Signet in Philadelphia this week. 5 people.
It's not that it couldn't have an effect. Civil resistance against corporations directly can have an impact. It can disrupt their work to the point where they come to a table and negotiate a settlement and better practices. It's been done many times, but it takes an extended, massive national or international effort to achieve it.
Right.
One incident can generate media, but presumably that media is intended to impact Congress members more than the insurance company.
Right. So you think the best thing is to go to the congressman's office and get in the way of his employees, basically?
Yeah, make it impossible for them to work. Flood them with phone calls and faxes and emails and be in their lobby and picket their doorways.
Now,
you've had that.
You've had that happen to you, not with your member of Congress. I think you were arrested in John Conyers' office, right?
Among others, yeah. I
among others.
Yes, among others. But I was working with John Conyers' office in 2005 when they were in the minority and pretending like they cared about peace and justice and the rule of law and our system of government. And by 2007, a lot of us were getting arrested in his office for demanding that he take up impeachment. And he wouldn't give us a reasonable explanation of why not. And we sat there, and he had us all arrested, several dozen people.
So you got arrested. What happened? Did you go out in handcuffs?
Yes, usually, and I think in that case, yes.
And what do they do with you? I mean, I really want to walk through this with you so that people know what happens when they go through this kind of civil disobedience, this dissent. What's the process? What do they face when they get involved in this?
Well, it's not the same everywhere, but I've been arrested in very controlled situations with warnings in Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, at the White House, and sometimes it's the Park Police at the White House, sometimes it's the Capitol Police on Capitol Hill. The police force that Congress refuses to use to bring in people who need to testify. The Capitol Police should be dragging Jay Bybee into Congress by his hair, not locking us up for asking that the impeachment power not be destroyed. But they will give you 3 warnings. They will ask you to stand up. If you're sitting down or lying down, you can refuse and insist on being dragged or carried. Sometimes that results in a more serious charge. Sometimes it doesn't. You stand up, you put your hands behind your back, you're handcuffed, and they put you on a bus or a van and take you to a police garage, warehouse, and process you. And this, which in terms of the Capitol Police, I've on multiple occasions been brought with a group of other people inside a building that essentially looks like a warehouse or a garage, and you'll be searched. They'll take everything you have on you, wallet, watch, keys, whatever. They will document all of that stuff, put it in bags. They'll have you sit in a chair. They'll later ask you questions, get your thumbprint or fingerprints, ask you to pay a fine or to decide that you'll come back later and challenge the charge in court. And then they document that they're giving you back all of your stuff. And so,
do you get a mug shot too?
Yes, and you get and they take your picture, and so this process can take an hour, it can take 6 hours, it can take 12 hours. I mean, they just slow it down and do almost nothing for hours and hours and hours. Now, this most recent incident at the White House, I was among a group of people who lay down on the sidewalk because policemen on horses tried to run us off. We lay down, the horses did not trample us, and we lay there for 2 hours. It took them 2 hours to put tape around a huge area, announce they were going to arrest everyone 3 times, and begin arresting everyone. And the process included asking people for an ID, taking someone's picture, taking a photograph right there, putting handcuffs on you, putting you on a bus or a van. And they arrested 62 people, and that took them over 2 hours. So I spent 2 hours lying on the sidewalk and then 5 minutes, handing in my ID and being handcuffed and photographed. They then took us on vans and buses with police escort, sirens blaring, everyone out of the way like the president's coming, over to a park police station in Anacostia, and we didn't even go into a building, and they didn't even have to take all of our stuff and document it and give it back to us, which is the big time sink. And they didn't take our money if we chose to pay the fine. Instead,
how much was the fine?
Usually it's around $50, sometimes $60. In this case, it was $100. And they simply...
Did you come prepared with the money, expecting to have to pay that fine?
Yeah, I came with $100 cash, a photo ID with my address on it, a driver's license, and nothing else. No rings, no watches, no keys, no wallet, no money, no other money, no credit cards, no photographs. I mean, they're going to waste your time and everyone else's time counting all of that junk and documenting it. In this case, however, they didn't, because they didn't even take us inside a building. They processed us at a little table outside, which means that they took a thumbprint, asked us, gave us a ticket, told us we could pay it later or challenge it in court. And
what do you do? Did you pay it or did you challenge it? Or are you going to challenge it?
About 3/4 of the people involved decided they would challenge it in court. Typically, that involves ending up getting off on a technicality or some other unremarkable outcome. In some cases, you can end up getting into court and presenting an argument that you are legally struggling against an illegal war and actually be able to present in court an argument that the war is illegal or whatever other campaign you're working on at that moment. So there is an argument for doing that. It just involves a lot of time and potentially some risk and trips back to wherever you were arrested. I don't live in Washington. I chose to pay the fine, which I thought would take me 2 minutes. I would go give them the $100 that they wouldn't take on Monday and give it to them on Tuesday. Well, I was there along with a bunch of other people for at least 2 hours while they took the $100 from me. If you can imagine that taking 2 hours, this is the pace at which these people move. And so, in all, I lost about 5 hours of my life. 2 hours waiting to be arrested, an hour being processed, and then 2 hours the next day paying the fine. People who choose to challenge it in court will lose a lot more time and potentially risk having some minor crime on their record, but I've got it too. It's essentially a traffic ticket, and I paid the fine. So I lost $100 to have my rights abused, but to make a point. And the point was very well made, very noisily made. Everyone in the White House heard us. They can't possibly have avoided doing so. There was better than usual media coverage, largely because op-ed news and other sites and radio shows make our own media now. And I have done lots and lots of interviews about it. So it can be worth doing.
So this is the Rob Kall Bottom Up Radio Show, WNJC 1360, sponsored by OpEdNews.com, and I'm talking to David Swanson, evil criminal arrested on Monday for protesting the what do you call it? The Afghanistan
war, occupation, take your pick.
The Afghanistan war. The Afghan war he's protesting. And he was arrested along with about 60 other people. I think a lot of those people are writers for op-ed news, aren't they?
Yeah. By the way, I've got to run in a minute, but yeah, there was a great crowd of people, and there were hundreds more there supporting us who chose to avoid getting arrested that day. And in fact, the larger the crowd, the more the police want to avoid arresting anyone. So,
really,
when you do, well, of course, because they have to do all of the nonsense that they put you through. They get paid overtime by us, of course, the taxpayers, but they do it. When you do an event like this, it's smart to bring as big a crowd as possible of people who don't plan to risk being arrested, who just want to rally and demonstrate, and as big a crowd as possible of those willing to take that risk. And when you see that you're able to shut down streets and the police won't arrest you because they don't want to deal with arresting you, they don't want the news story to say people were arrested and so forth, then everybody will join in. And that's been an effective tactic, but one that's not been utilized nearly enough, in my opinion.
So I want to get back to this, though. You just said some of the people go there not expecting to get arrested. You do go. You went there expecting to get arrested, possibly, didn't you?
Well, which is different from wanting to get arrested. I mean, I literally did not want to get arrested. I had much better things to do with my time. I missed out on doing interviews. I missed time with my wife and kids. I did not want to get arrested. But even when, there is the potential for good media and good stories and attention garnering by getting arrested, the goal is not to get arrested. I would much prefer that we be able to speak our minds in front of the White House than that we be arrested for it. Now, I could imagine a situation where they do let us speak our minds in front of the White House, and we really want them to arrest us in order to draw more attention to the war. But even so, what you would be doing in that sort of situation is protesting a crime, standing up for the rule of law, standing up for the laws that make these wars illegal. So to say that you're doing civil disobedience isn't quite the whole picture, which is why a lot of people like to talk about civil resistance. Perhaps a subtle distinction, but still, the goal, at least my goal in this case, was not to get arrested. It was to risk getting arrested and to try to expand our freedom of speech. Which sadly, however, I've got to stop using at the moment. I've got to go.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experience on this. And keep up the good work. And what's the name of your book again and your website?
Same to you, Rob. And it's Daybreak, Undoing the Imperial Presidency and Forming a More Perfect Union. And go to davidswanson.org and see when I'll be in your town.
All right. And make sure you check out David's book. It's really good. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. It's the Rob Kall Bottom Up Radio.